At the onset of the film, we witness a murder scene unfolding as a police officer enters a house. Upon his arrival, everything appears seemingly normal. However, in the adjoining room, the officer discovers Sarah, a gorgeous woman with a severe head injury, surrounded by a pool of blood. Nearby stands Sarah's husband, Miles, with blood-stained hands, prompting suspicion that he may have attempted to harm her. The officer meticulously reports the details of the crime scene back to headquarters before calling for backup. The scene transitions, revealing Sarah's life a year later. She has undergone scuba diving training with Miles and now lives independently. Sarah, a highly acclaimed Nobel Prize-winning author, feels the pressure to produce another literary masterpiece, but struggles amidst the demands of commercial success and personal safety concerns. When her supportive friend and publishing agent, Alice, arrives, Sarah's initial reaction is one of fear, grabbing a bat for protection. Traumatized by past events, Sarah has become hypervigilant about her safety. Alice suggests a vacation to help Sarah regain her focus, and she agrees. Arriving at Alice's beach house, Sarah takes a stroll along the shore, beginning her journey of relaxation and self-discovery. While taking a leisurely stroll along the beach, Sarah locks eyes with a boy who captivates her, although she's unsure what drew her to him. Shortly after, she encounters a fan named Jack who expresses his admiration for her work and requests a photo together. Sarah obliges, understanding the importance of connecting with her supporters. Later that evening, while dining at a restaurant, Sarah is pleasantly surprised to encounter the same boy from the beach, who introduces himself as Tony. Intrigued by Tony's charm, Sarah accepts his invitation to dinner, enjoying his company throughout the meal. During their conversation, Tony questions Sarah's choice of vacation spot, noting the address on her novels. Although initially skeptical, Sarah is swayed by Tony's explanation and finds herself becoming more at ease in his presence. After dinner, Tony shares his contact information with Sarah, encouraging her to reach out anytime. Shyly, Sarah accepts before parting ways. The next morning, while Sarah is at a cafe, she is startled by the sudden appearance of her husband, Miles. Reacting instinctively out of fear, Sarah pulls away from him and accuses him of following her. Miles reassures her that it's merely a coincidence, but Sarah remains unsettled by the encounter. "But I showed up unexpectedly. I had no clue you'd be here too," Miles explains to Sarah, who remains unmoved, insisting that he leave. Reluctantly, Miles departs once more, leaving Sarah to collect herself. However, as she lies in bed that night, memories of past arguments with Miles flood back, immediately preceding the earlier unsettling incident. Now, let's fast forward. It's morning, and Sarah awakens to find Jack in her bed, the same fan she met on the beach, now unclothed, evoking suspicion of ill intentions. Sarah screams in terror, prompting Jack to profess his love for her, his repeated advances causing her to flee to the kitchen while dialing the police. Armed with a knife for protection, Sarah confronts Jack as he persists in his declarations of affection. The arrival of the police forces Jack to flee upon hearing their sirens. Later, Sarah confides in Alice about the ordeal, prompting Alice to assure her that she'll come over for support. Upon Alice's arrival, Sarah feels a sense of relief and confides in her about Miles' unexpected presence earlier that morning at a cafe. Alice advises Sarah to inform the authorities of the threat to her safety, though Sarah remains uncertain, considering the possibility that it may have been a mere coincidence. Nevertheless, Alice equips Sarah with pepper spray and golf bats for protection, vowing to stay by her side for the day before returning home tomorrow. The following morning, as Sarah is engrossed in her writing, Miles unexpectedly appears, initially causing Sarah to tense up at his presence. Puzzled by his return, Sarah wonders why he's here again. However, Miles adopts a softer tone, expressing his desire to talk. After persistent requests, Sarah reluctantly agrees, and they begin a conversation. Miles reassures Sarah, claiming innocence regarding the incident she accuses him of. Sarah questions his failure to summon help that night, to which Miles explains his shock upon finding her injured and his fear of being implicated. Sarah remains skeptical despite his explanation. Miles presses further, questioning Sarah's certainty of his guilt, as she never witnessed the attack. Sarah admits to not seeing the assailant due to being struck from behind and rendered unconscious. Before Miles can elaborate, Alice storms in, armed with pepper spray and a golf bat, attacking him. Sarah, shocked by Alice's aggression, questions her actions. Alice defends her actions, determined to protect Sarah from potential harm. Sarah calms Alice and shares Miles' claims with her. Alice warns Sarah of Miles' manipulative nature, urging her to remember the truth of her survival that night. With Alice's departure, Sarah contacts Tony, seeking solace and sharing her experiences with Miles and Jack. Tony offers his support, advising Sarah to reach out whenever she feels threatened. As the day progresses, Sarah and Tony grow closer, culminating in a romantic dinner where they share a kiss, finding solace and joy in each other's company. As Tony bids farewell to Sarah, he expresses his love for her, to which Sarah reciprocates. As Tony walks away, he engages in conversation with a tourist nearby, catching Sarah's attention. After the tourist departs, Sarah questions Tony about their interaction. Tony explains that the tourist was merely asking for directions, reassuring Sarah of his innocence. Although Sarah initially trusts Tony's explanation, she harbors some suspicion and secretly follows him for an hour. To her dismay, Sarah observes Tony approaching her house with rope and duct tape, leading her to believe he intends harm. Confronting Tony, she accuses him of plotting with Jack to harm her. Tony clarifies that he planned to repair a broken chair in Sarah's garden, but her suspicions lead her to reject his explanation. Devastated, Tony leaves, prompting Sarah to confide in Alice about the incident. Alice advises Sarah to reconsider, suggesting that Tony may have genuinely intended to help her. Reflecting on her hasty actions, Sarah realizes she may have misjudged Tony and contemplates apologizing. However, before she can act, another crisis arises when her laptop is stolen, and she receives a threatening call from an unknown number, revealing Jack's involvement. Sarah learns that Jack possesses her stolen laptop and demands a large sum of money for its return, plunging her into further distress. It's known that Sarah had diligently penned the entire manuscript of her new novel on the laptop over the past year, making it incredibly valuable to her. Sarah shares this crucial detail with the police, but they express difficulty in tracing Jack's calls, leaving Sarah feeling helpless. Seeking reconciliation, Sarah apologizes to Tony for her earlier suspicion and confides in him about the stolen laptop. Together, they devise a plan, creating counterfeit money to lure Jack into a trap. They deliver the fake notes as instructed by Jack, but their scheme backfires when Jack realizes the money is counterfeit. Before Jack can retaliate, Tony confronts him, only to be injected with a substance by Jack, who escapes. Despite retrieving the laptop, their plan ends in failure. However, Sarah appreciates Tony's selflessness and support, drawing them closer. They become engaged, reveling in their newfound happiness until tragedy strikes. Sarah wakes to find Tony brutally murdered in her bed, plunging her into despair. The police arrive, removing Tony's lifeless body as Sarah vows to uncover the truth behind his murder. Later that evening, Sarah receives a call from Jack, further deepening her anguish. The shocking truth is finally unveiled when Jack confesses to Sarah that he has harbored feelings for her for a long time, admitting to orchestrating previous attacks in an attempt to win her over, even implicating her husband, Miles. As Jack laughs callously, Sarah realizes the validity of Miles' claims of innocence. Overcome with remorse, Sarah seeks out Miles and extends her heartfelt apologies for doubting him for months, acknowledging her lack of trust. Miles, relieved by Sarah's newfound understanding, encourages her to publicly clarify his innocence, allowing him to regain his tarnished reputation and live a normal life. Sarah agrees, recognizing the injustice Miles has endured since the incident led to his wrongful termination and social ostracization. However, on her way home that very night, Jack assaults Sarah, prompting Miles, who had coincidentally arrived to express his gratitude to Sarah, to intervene and ultimately kill Jack in defense of Sarah. Understanding the severity of the situation, Miles implores Sarah to claim self-defense to spare him from returning to jail. Reluctantly, Sarah agrees. When the authorities arrive to retrieve Jack's body, Sarah bravely asserts her innocence, recounting Jack's attempted assault and the threat he posed to her life, ensuring Miles' protection from legal repercussions. Sarah takes to the airwaves to reveal Jack's attempted murder on her a year prior. With Miles now leading a regular life and securing employment, the cloud of uncertainty dissipates between him and Sarah. Their bond strengthens, and one evening, as they share dinner and conversation, a moment of intimacy arises. However, the tranquility is shattered when Miles unexpectedly injects Sarah with a sedative and confesses to attempting her murder due to suspicions of her extramarital affair with her publisher. Enraged by Sarah's defiance and the repercussions of his imprisonment, Miles resolves to end her life. As the truth unfolds, it emerges that Miles also killed Tony due to his closeness with Sarah. Subsequently, Miles throws Sarah into the swimming pool in an attempt to stage her accidental drowning. Alyssa intervenes, thwarting Miles' plan and rescuing Sarah. In the ensuing struggle, Sarah, with Alyssa's assistance, manages to overpower Miles, ultimately delivering a fatal blow with a broken beer bottle. The movie concludes with Sarah on the beach, melancholy over Tony's memory, but resolved to pen her next novel, a love story. And with that, the curtain falls on this gripping tale.